I start screaming or whispering, will you tell me?
Yeah.
Just give me hand signals.
Okay.
Welcome, Nicole
you.
Torres, to the Passion Project podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I don't know how I got so honored.
Why is she on that side and I'm on this side?
Say, I am the captain now. That's why. She's going to captain the ship today.
Yes.
Moose, I know I'm tired.
If anyone couldn't tell.
I'm very tired, so I'm going to let you lead this. You can ask whatever the hell you want to my wife, but the reason I'm tired is because last night we were at a...
Does Moose not know this?
No.
Oh, this is exciting.
We were at her...
No, I know what this is. You told me.
Oh, okay.
Oh, you told him?
I don't know.
At the charity event.
Oh, I told you it was incoming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, so it's
official.
Well, so last
okay.
night, let me explain. So last night we were at her company's holiday party, and it was employees only. But I was there, which looked weird. But then the reason I was there was because her boss, for now, made the announcement that starting January 1st, Nicole is now a partner at the law offices of David Camille.
PC.
What?
PC. That's the
PC,
initial
yes.
After.
So that's why I'm tired, because we were there last night and we were celebrating. I videoed it. I was playing it for Leroy today, and all you could barely hear
I know, it was
David
loud
talking.
in
You couldn't hear a
there.
damn thing you were saying.
I was crying.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
how big of a deal is this for you?
So as a lawyer, it's the biggest deal, like in terms of your position that you can be. When you're in law school, all you hear is like, I want to make partner, I want to make partner, I want to make partner. So that career-wise, this is huge. For me personally, it's massive. I mean, it's massive to have ownership in something that I it literally like started from, I had knowledge of what I do because I've bought and sold houses. So I'm a real estate attorney. So I had practical knowledge because I've been through it, but I didn't, know the ins and outs of the business. So to start from really square one to work my way up to that is just, it's amazing. I mean, it's amazing.
And how many years have you been with this specific company?
I am in year 5.
Wow.
Yeah.
in year 5. So
I'm in year 5.
the day, it's a big deal. The day that she signed the...
Memo of understanding. It's like a written agreement of terms, essentially.
Sure. Whatever. The contract, the deal, whatever. The day that she signed it was the 4-year anniversary of the day that she started at the firm. Which
It was really cool. It was like and we didn't plan it that way. It just happened that way, which was really, really cool.
So she did it in a quick ass amount of time. And I was explaining this to my kids. We went out to dinner, to celebrate. And I said, you got to understand, it's not like Nicole had a law firm and David had a law firm and they merged and became partners that way. That's one way of doing it. He built this business by himself. He was talking about it yesterday. He's like, he was like, I was in
a basement.
I was in my basement with my aunt.
Yeah.
When he first started the business, he was like answering calls, doing all the stuff like out of his house. So he built this on his own from scratch. So the fact that he is willing to say, I want to give a piece of this thing that I built to someone, that not a lot of people do that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
A lot of people wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it works out. I mean, the timing wise, like he just turned 60 last week, and I'm going to be 35 next summer. So timing wise, it worked out exceptionally well for both of us, I think. He's kind of seeing a succession plan, so to speak. And not that he's definitely not going to be done anytime soon. He's like the most diehard. Like, I think I work hard and I see him work and I'm like, oh my God, I got to step my game up, But the timing of where I am in my career and where I want to be and what he's been able to do and what he wants to accomplish before he retires, it's like a perfect match. And I think we counter each other very, very well. And it's very similar to like Ramiro and I. We're very different people. We have very different personalities. Like I'm actually the way more outgoing one. He's a bit more shy, I would say, counter to, what he does for a living. I could talk to paint drying on a wall, like truly. Sometimes I have when Ramiro won't talk to me, but But
I'm out of my words at a certain point in
Yeah,
the day, and
but
she's like having conversation
with
and talking
myself,
for,
I'm like
Yeah,
negotiating
yeah.
with myself or having, and he just I'm like whatever. But similar to my relationship with my boss, what makes us work in our partnership, not only with my future, partner in my business, but with my husband and our marriage partnership is, I like to say our foundations are the same. So we both value trust. We both value honesty. We want to talk things through, even if we go about things in a different way. Like Ramiro and I always say, the way that because we've been through some shit together, and the way that we've been able to get through it is our foundations are the same. Those things that we hold near and dear, our morals are the same. And
Yeah.
my boss and soon to be partner, it's the same thing.
Who was it that asked us recently, randomly? We were somewhere and you were having a conversation off to the side. It was a woman. I remember that. And all of a sudden I walked over and she said, "Hey, why do you think you and Nicole are compatible," or something like that?
Oh,
And everything I was answering was literally what
it
you
was
said.
one of my vendors at work.
That's what, yes.
We were at the Red Sox game. We were at the
That's
Red Sox
what- yes,
game. It
yes,
was one
yes.
of our vendors at work. We got Red Sox tickets through, and like she I love her. She's like a salt
Yeah.
of the earth person. But she was asking me, like, we're at a Red Sox game. It's like the fourth inning, and she's like, "What makes you and your partner so compatible?" Like it was
Yeah.
very she was really
It was
getting
random,
into
and
it,
I was
but-
outside, like, it was in the suite, and I was on the outside part with the kids, and then I came in to, I don't know, use the bathroom or whatever, and she starts asking me the questions, and apparently I was, like, if it was like the match game, we would have won.
Yeah,
Because
we
everything I was
would've
saying,
won.
she's like, "Nicole just said that, Nicole just said that, Nicole just said that," and I was like,
Yeah,
Is
our
this
foundations
true?
are the same, and we always have come back to, like, as long as him and I are good, everything will be good. Like, even if, like, I've found, and I think we've both, I'm not going to speak for you, but when him and I are not doing well, the shit with the kids is crazy and our schedules are crazy. If him and I are communicating, and at least, like, we say Team Torres, like, at least if him and I are on the same page and it's like you and I against the world, we can tackle everything. But if him and I are not okay, like, shit goes south fast.
you know what's
true.
a good test? We were saying this to someone yesterday. A good test when you get yourself a lady moose, you need to travel with her. All right? Because
But,
it's-
like, I'm not saying a weekend in New Hampshire. Like, you
yeah,
need to go
you need
far
to
away.
Go away. And you need something to go wrong.
Yes.
Because it's one thing just if you travel and everything goes right and you don't get along with the person, that's not a good sign. But you need to travel and have things go on. Not 100%, but close to.
Probably
Whenever,
about 85% of the time.
when her and I have traveled, just her and I, shit goes, like, everything
And I'm
you
not
go.
talking like a little thing like,
No.
oh, I lost like my ticket, like something that I'm talking
Oh.
like the flight gets delayed for 12 hours and
Yeah.
we have 2 connections that we missed.
That actually happened.
And it's funny because you hit a point and it's like an actual tangible moment where if you live in the moment, you can say to yourself, like, am I going to let this ruin this entire trip and be in a miserable mood? Or are we going to just look at each other and be like, here we go
Yeah.
again? And every single time from the moment that he and I started traveling together, we just look at each other. We're like, yep, here we go.
And we
know?
we laugh it off, and it makes it so much easier to deal with whatever's happening. Whereas times that we've traveled with other people, and stuff doesn't even go wrong. It might be like a small delay. Your luggage doesn't come out right away, like little things. And her and I are cool, but the other people you can feel are stressing, and
Panicking.
they're ruining like the energy of the moment. And it's a major relationship test. So, like, you could be everything solid with your lady, whoever you get eventually, travel with her,
We'll see how she holds up.
and see how you hold up.
No, I
How
don't
you
see
both
how I
hold up.
hold
It's
up,
not
honestly.
just a test of her.
Yeah.
It's a test
Yeah.
of you. And it's also a test of you two together.
Together, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I've found that this leaks into other things. Like, there have been times where, like, we'll be going to, like, Jax's hockey or skating practice and something will happen. And it's like, if I'm like, oh my God, this is the worst thing ever, and he's piling on and piling on and piling on, like, we're both going to be in a miserable mood. We're going to be screaming at our kid, as opposed to we're very good at, like, pulling each other out of it. Like, it's so funny. So my parents have been married like 39 years, I think, almost 40.
Something like that, yeah.
Like, forever. And I joke and I'm like, what's the secret to, like, a happy marriage? And my dad is a big jokester and he's like, just don't want to get divorced at the same time. And it's a joke, but at the same time, it's like you can't have both people like in their feelings at the same time.
Yeah.
Even if I get home from work and I'm venting about something, or he has like a really crappy afternoon with the kids, like I'm not like piling on or trying to like one up the negativity. I'm like, oh, well, have you thought about it this way? Or I'm just hearing him out. I'm like truly just listening.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, the compatibility piece, but traveling tests, and we have travel coming up next 2 weeks from now. So
I was gonna say, yeah, you guys went away for a little bit, and then now you're going. How long are you guys going away for? A week?
We're going for 8 days.
Okay.
So we went to Miami. We go every year. We went just the two of us, but this is with the little kids and the 2 older girls.
Oh.
Yeah. So it'll be, but this isn't the biggest trip. Like I planned a whole trip for Ramiro's entire side, like
dude,
his
we
parents,
rolled.
his sister, all the kids to Puerto Rico a few years ago.
Us 2, my 5 kids. That's 7.
Yeah.
My parents 9. My sister 10.
And I did the Airbnb, I did the tickets, I did the car rental, and you talk about shit going awry. We show up at the airport.
They were out of cars.
I have never been to Puerto Rico before, and Ramiro's like, I'm just warning you, Nicole, culturally, it's very laid back. And I'm thinking that means instead of showing up at 8, you show up at 8:05. No, that means you show up at the airport, and they're like, we don't have cars. And I'm like, no, I rented one. Like here, and I'm type A psycho. So I'm like, here's my confirmation email. You have it wrong. And I'm like, Ramiro, I know my Spanish is like not perfect, but I think he's telling me they ran out of cars. And he's like, no, that's what he's telling you. So we had to take like a 3-hour Uber or taxi or whatever it was.
Find one that fit 10 people.
Yeah. It was, and then they stopped at the store. And we got like
we stopped at a random gas station because we didn't have any food or anything. So we stopped like at a random gas station, went in there just to get some food. Then, because we didn't have a car,
couldn't do anything. Grocery shopping. We had
nothing.
No food. We had to have Airbnb.
Yeah, we had to have one of my cousins make food at his house and drive it out to us. Yeah, it was craziness. Her and I were cool.
But you had everyone else.
That was a lot of people. So that one was stressful. But if that happened and it was just me and her, we would have been like, let's figure this fucking shit out.
I learned that in Puerto Rico once too, when I was getting dinner with my sister, and it was like this beautiful like restaurant on the water and everything, and then I noticed the food was taking a little long. But like I didn't want to be obnoxious, because even over here I don't say like, hey, like how long in the food.
And they don't care if you live or die.
Oh yeah, they could care less.
They do not care.
So he comes over and he brings us like another like drink or something, and then I was like, oh hey, how's the meal coming along? He goes, man, you're eating dinner on the water?
Yeah.
You're on vacation?
Like, calm down.
He's like, your sister ordered fish. We just caught it. Like,
chill out.
Are you in a rush? And I went, he's effing right. I was like, why am I in a rush?
Now,
we had a reservation at a restaurant.
I was just going to say.
On the way to dinner.
This was the only meal. We went for 8 days.
Yeah.
The only meal, I'm not talking the only dinner, the only meal the entire trip that was just supposed to be him and I had had enough of everyone. I was like, Ramiro, if you and I don't have a dinner, I'm going to murder some. Like, there will be death.
Yeah.
And we show up, and the lady goes, no tenemos comida, which means we don't have food. And I'm like, again, I know my Spanish is not, like, perfect, but I think she's telling me that they don't have food. And I'm like, I'm saying to her in Spanish, no, you don't understand. We have a reservation. And she's like, I don't give a shit. Like, we don't have food left. They ran out of freaking plantains.
They ran out of food.
So what did we do? We stopped at a Papagino's?
Yeah,
brought
like a pizza
back
place.
to the house, and I'm like sitting there in tears.
Oh my God.
But
that was hilarious.
You have to find like ways to laugh. You have to.
All right, now let's go back to the beginning. Moose, ask her about.
I was gonna say, well, first of all, congratulations on all of that.
Thank you.
To give a little back, well, I've known Ramiro for a minute now, but we met at a fashion show that Nicole actually walked in.
It was the most embarrassing thing in my life.
No,
not embarrassing. I just was like, I don't want to ever do this again.
You both did great.
It was fine. It's just not my thing. I don't know.
I think next year if they do it again,
I was like on my phone sending emails, like talking to Ramiro's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm working.
You're like, yeah, but I gotta walk in.
There's just a lot of sitting around.
Yeah, no, there was a lot of sitting around.
Did you see when the girl started putting her clothes on?
Yeah, she took her jeans.
I took off. Yeah, the outfit that I wore. Someone was like, hang it up over there. So I'm like, okay. So all of a sudden I like peered over and I'm like, I like those pants. I have pants like that. And then I'm like, that's my tank top. And then I'm looking and I walk over. I said, I think you just took my outfit that I wore here. And the girl was like, oh my. And she had like no bra on. She's like,
that was hilarious.
I'm so
man.
sorry. But at least I feel like it told me I was trendy.
Yeah.
I took it as a compliment.
It was a compliment. I was just, I would have taken the same thing. But
that was the first time I met you.
that was the first time I met you too. And I thought that was type A over here.
No.
I thought, well, because we're in like a workspace, so we have our moments where we goof around, but when he turns on that tone in his voice,
yeah.
I know when I'm like,
I know the tone.
Yeah, I'm like, okay.
When he screws around, he's screwing around, and then he decides when he flips the switch.
Yeah, it's Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. I'm like, okay.
100%.
I was like, all right, I'll stop smiling. But
good to know you do that at work as well.
He's
like, Nicole, you can't mess around about that right now. I'm like, you were just messing around. He's like, that was 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, or even at like events and stuff. Like, you're right. He is socially quieter.
100%.
In front of people, which I thought was nuts. It was like one of the first things you and I did together. I'm like acting crazy.
Yeah, and he was like, what are you doing?
He's all like,
hey.
But then, hold on. But then the second.
A microphone's in his hand.
Not even the mic. The second people started, there was a joke going on about me. Oh,
he's
the
a
fire
roaster.
went under his ass.
He's a roaster.
He turned it on. Ramiro on the radio came. Do you know what I'm talking about? The Corona night.
He doesn't because he does it so often.
I mean,
He got a whole
that's on
crowd.
brand.
100%.
I was talking to him and my coworker about this chick who had a boyfriend. Did you hear about this?
No.
This chick who had a boyfriend who didn't tell. We're not even gonna give her that time.
Yes.
Oh yeah, now you remember.
Okay, I thought you were talking about the models. This is at a different event.
No, this is at it was some concert. Him and my coworker. Next thing I know, the Corona rep is in it. These two random girls were at the event.
We had a random
DJ,
group of strangers giving him relationship advice.
This girl's hammered. She's like, if my boyfriend didn't tell me about.
And you feel this big.
And I'm like,
yes.
And he just keeps going.
When Ramiro and I were dating, okay, like you say stupid shit to each other when you're dating, like, would you ever leave me? Like, whatever. And so, like, an example, this isn't the example I'm going to tell you, but an example of this is I said to him, like, would you ever cheat on me? And he's like, I'm just too tired. I don't have time.
Oh, that's
that
great.
was his freaking response. But I would see him, like, razz on his friends. And I would say to him, like, you're never going to, like, do that to me, will you? And he's like, you're my girl. Like, no, you're my girlfriend. I would never. He fucking roasts me I'll have a great day working. He's like, Nicole, you help people get microwaves at the end of the day. Like, I will crush it at work, and he humbles me and cuts me off at the knees like this. Like, he's like, oh, like, that's cute. You think you did a lot today?
I'd be like, did they get the curtains, though? That's the most important
he's like,
part.
did you ask for the blinds?
No, but I think that's just his love language. That's why I have to tell myself so I don't cry, because it's like I'm like, why? Because sometimes I'm like, all right, like reel it in.
He just loves me. It's like when boys throw rocks.
I feel like I'm at a preview of my funeral.
No, literally, I'm like, why? I'm like, no, he likes to tell. I love how we're like trauma bonding right now. I'm like, he does that to me too.
100%.
He loves to tell people how I'm an annihilator. He likes to tell people if I don't like you, I'm ripping you to shreds. And I'm like, I'm not a monster.
Dude, that's what he does.
Hold on.
It's fine.
I'm enjoying this conversation between you two, but I got to jump in. Before you came in here, Moose was telling me how he just started acupuncture. And
Ramiro loves a good needle. Loves a good needle.
Well, apparently the lady who does acupuncture on him this has never happened to me, but she does a thing where she tests his vibrations with this stick on his body.
Channels, the energy channels or whatever.
Well, whatever it is. You know what? I'm going to let you take it away.
Clogged?
What does she say to you? No. What does she say to you?
No, she read the thing, and then as I'm laying down to do the acupuncture, she like looks at the screen, she like does a double take, and
she's like, "You're an asshole. This is weird."
Basically.
She goes, "Can I ask you something?" And I was like, "She goes, are you angry?" And I was like,
no.
"Why?" I was like, "Is it saying I'm angry?" She goes, "Yeah." She turns the computer, it's like off the chart red.
Did you flip her off?
No, I just was like, she goes, "What do you do when you're angry? Do you just like swallow it?" I was like, I guess. She goes, "You should take up boxing. It's a great way to just release." I was like, this is, okay. I don't, anyways, we're deviating from the completely.
I rest my case, Your Honor.
Exactly.
But yes, I understand he roasts people.
Yes, but I did want to say again, congratulations on that. That's such an amazing accomplishment. You, I think, finally, in many ways, have one-upped Homeboy here.
It's hard. I mean, when I first started in my career, like, I was making no money, and I would get like a bonus of like $200, and I'd be like, Ramiro, I got a $200 check. And like classic Ramiro, he'd be like, that's cute. You're gonna like buy gas. Like, he would just humble the shit out of me, and I feel like I'm I'm not where I want to be. Like, I have major goals for myself, but now I feel like I at least make a living that he's
Oh,
like, oh, you're contributing. Great.
I
Like,
love it, baby.
No,
I
that's-
love it.
that-
Now when I
yeah.
get fired, I'm like,
he
word, I'm
also-
out. My wife is gonna carry me.
You got me.
you
Yep.
put that hex on me. But he also makes use of the fact that I'm a lawyer in the sense that, like, okay, like say our cable. A perfect example. For our house, we got a water bill one time. This is no word of a lie. It was like $39,000.
Oh my God.
What?
It
For
was-
one quarter.
I almost passed.
He's like,
out.
Nicole, you need to do your lawyer thing and call them. And I'm like,
I
honey,
was like,
think
is
about
there
it.
a leak somewhere? What?
I'm
How
like,
the
think
hell?
about it logically. There's an error. Like, there's no possible. We didn't use $39,000 worth of
I'm
water.
like, the house is gonna
it's not a big
float
deal.
away. How the hell do we?
He could barely breathe. He was like, so not. I call the water company and they're like, oh, it was because they blew the water line out and it messed with the
Yeah.
meter. Long story short, they're like, yeah, we X'd out the bill. Like, you're fine. And this one was like in a cold sweat for
Yeah.
like 12 hours.
The
about
real
it.
bill turned out to be like $34.
Yeah, it was like, she was like, I'll waive it for the inconvenience. So,
There you go.
Yeah.
But okay, so let's let's reel it back in. So you said you're 34. When did you have the idea that you wanted to pursue law? Was it when you were in undergrad? Was it
no,
prior?
I was like little. And I told everyone I was going to be a lawyer. I was going to go to Harvard. I had it in my head, like for as long as I can remember, I said I was going to be a lawyer.
Where do you think that stems from?
Feeling like I'm always right, always needing to have the last word. My dad instilled in me a real sense of confidence in myself, and I don't back down from an argument. Like Ramiro will tell you, if we get into an argument, I don't. Like if we get into, we're kind of due for like a big blowout. It's been like probably 18 months.
You've been saying that for a while.
I know, it's so scary. It means it's like growing. But but when we get into like we've only had like a handful of like bad blowouts, and he gets so pissed because I stay logical. Like he'll be like, well, maybe we should get divorced. And I'm like, Ramiro, that doesn't make any sense.
You're
but if
so
you think about it, right, he is correct. Imagine being married to that. But I'm like, if you think about it logically, you can't be correct about this because blah, blah, blah. And he's like, why do you have to be so logical? So I've always had a very logical mindset. I've never been the most creative person. And I've had it in my mind I was going to work in like downtown Boston or Manhattan and do like mergers and acquisition. Like I thought I was going to be the show Suits, truthfully. And then I got into college and I went to Babson for undergrad. I played softball there. Babson Beavers, shout out. Like what a Babson Beavers softball team. You can't make that up. And I fell in love with health and wellness and nutrition. And I was like, maybe I don't want to be a lawyer. But I had already applied to law school at this point. So I went to Suffolk for law school. And while I was there, I was with a bunch of kids who were trust fund kids, or their dad was a judge. Like my dad did HVAC growing up. My mom was a stay-at-home mom. I didn't know any lawyers. I'd never met a lawyer. I grew up in a very, very blue-collar town, which is, it was great. I loved growing up there. But I didn't know very many white-collar professionals, so to speak. So I had like this romanticized version in my head of what I wanted to be, and then
Power walking with a briefcase.
and like buying whatever I want and whatever. I didn't think about it in the sense of like, oh shit, I'm gonna be working 18-hour days and whatever. And then in law school I met Ramiro and I was like, oh my God, like he was older than me, or still is older than me.
Yeah.
So
You're
I knew
never
we'd
gonna
have
catch
to
up. I hate to break it to
that
you.
hasn't changed. So gets older and older every year. So I knew we were gonna have kids right away, and I realized that if I went into like a corporate law type setting, I wouldn't be able to do that. I mean, you just can't. A lot of those corporate associates are making hundreds and hundreds of $1,000s a year, and they never see family, friend. They don't have boyfriend. They wake up from people that I've spoken to that have gone through it. You kind of wake up 8 or 9 years later and you're like, I have a shit ton of money. I've got all this stock. I take these great vacations once or twice a year, and I have no one. I've cut off all my friends because you just don't have time. Yeah. And anyway, family kind of went from like, oh, I want a great career to like, no, I really want to have a family and I want to have a husband and I want to, make a real life, like a real life. And, so I said, screw it. I'm not going to practice law. So it was like couple months before graduation, and I will never forget. Ramiro and I were already dating at this point, and I sat my parents down, and I was like, "Hey, remember that like law thing that I was gonna do?" And my dad's like, "Yeah, you're graduating in May, like it's February or April, whatever it was." I said, well, I don't want to do that. I was doing CrossFit at the time. I was like, I want to coach CrossFit. I want to start a nutrition business. Like, I want to.
Wait, hold on. Sorry. Were you in law school or were you in undergrad?
I was in law school.
You were in your last semester of law school.
Joke's on mom and dad. I was in my last, like, third year of law school and was like, I'm not sitting for the bar. I don't want to do this.
Wow.
Because I just said to myself, like, I don't want to create this life that I'm going to hate.
Yeah.
And
that's brave.
Yeah, it was scary. But at the same time, like I said, my parents are very blue collar. They were like, listen, you're paying for yourself to go to school. If my dad's like, if you want to throw that all away and like do this workout thing, like, you know, it's on you. Like, it's your bill. So that's what I did. I worked at a CrossFit gym. I competed for a little while.
I was trying to.
Ramiro was trying to entice. He kept saying, "I feel like I had the bait and switch."
No,
like he was dating a law student and got a nutrition
supportive
coach.
of her decision, but at the same time, I was like, just take the bar exam.
I didn't take the bar.
Just to, just to have it.
And just for like,
and she didn't do it.
Just for reference, when you sit, like when someone says to you, I'm sitting for the bar exam, it's not as though you sign up for this test and you take it. You have to take the Massachusetts, like there's like an ethical portion. You have to do the character and fitness. Like it's a process just to sit for the bar exam. It's not just like going to get your license.
Yeah.
You know, I said, no, I'm not doing any of that. So I did that for a few years. I mean, we got married, we had our kids, and Jax was a baby. And the summer of 2019 was just like eating at me. I was grinding. I was doing well with the nutrition business. I had like 3 or 4 coaches, like making shit money. I really enjoyed what I was doing, but something was just kind of eating at me. Like,
you didn't finish something.
Yeah, like I didn't feel fulfilled. I felt like this, I want to go back to the law. I don't know what it is, but it's like, it's pulling me back. It's pulling me back. It's pulling me back. So I remember it was like, September of 2019?
Yeah, it was like.
And I said to Ramiro, I was like, I want to talk to you about something. I said, you know, I want to sit for the bar exam. And I think his head went through the ceiling. He was so excited. He's like, finally! I'll do whatever you want to do. You know, very supportive immediately. So I'm like, okay, like the type of person that I am, if I'm going to do this, I'm doing this 100%. So the bar exam is offered twice a year in February and July. I think it still is, but at least it was at the time. And I said, we're going to go to Bali in February. I'm going to study for the July bar exam. So I'm going to stop working starting when we go to Bali. And when we get home, I'm just going to study full time. I'm going to study 6 days a week. That's all I'm going to do. Plan was to move in with my in-laws. They were unbelievable. I mean, I truly, like, we could not have done that without them.
We had the 2 little kids.
We had the 2 little kids. Jax was not even a year old. Lucy was 2. And we said, hey, can we move in with you? The plan was to move in with them in April, I think. Oh, no, Memorial Day weekend.
Yeah,
we were going to stay June, July, and I was going to sit for the bar. We go to Bali, and 2 weeks later, the world shuts down with COVID. So Ramiro's like, you still want to do this? Like, what? Because everything was up in the air. Like, no one knew anything. And I'm like, fuck yeah. Like, I'm going to still do it.
If
like,
there's any time, it's time to do it
and
now.
that's what, you know, Ramiro and I kept saying to each other that, and we've gone back to this, I don't know how many times, like, this is the perfect scenario for us to get divorced, for us to break down. We're going to take advantage and we're going to crush this time. Like, the amount of like one-on-one, like I feel like we each had so much personal development during that time because there was so much less distraction. I mean, you were literally like, it was like forced togetherness. Yeah. We know so many people that got divorced after that.
Well, no, because like think about during COVID, that's when a lot of people were like, I don't know, they put their life on pause or something.
We refused.
And we're like, let's do the opposite of that.
We kicked it up with working out. So anyway, we move into my in-laws still in May. The bar exam that was supposed to be in July gets delayed to August. So I'm like, okay, that's fine. I'll just study for another month. Then it gets delayed to September. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. I'll just study for and then it got delayed to October. And we were living at my in-laws the entire time. Yeah. And I got to the
Memorial Day to Labor Day.
Correct. I got to the point where I was studying so much that I almost was like getting stupid. Like we'd be walking.
You were like regressing?
Correct. Like my plan, my everyday, my schedule is I would wake up at 4. I'd run. At the time, I was bigger and more big into running than what I am now. But I would run, take a shower. My father-in-law, God bless his heart, would cook me breakfast. I'd go up to the 3rd floor, no air conditioning. They bought me a window unit, thank God, in the heat of the summer, okay? 3rd floor attic, and work at a desk with this tiny little window. And I'd work there from like 8:30 until about noon. I'd go down, I'd have lunch. I'd work until about 5, like studying until about 5, have dinner, and then we'd go on a walk or do something with the kids. Saturdays, I would do a half day. So I'd do like 8 to 1 or 8 to 12 with like flashcards and stuff. Sundays, I would try to just do nothing. And that was every single day. And like I would get to the end and we'd go on our walks and I'd be like, Ramiro, I'm going to fail. Like I'm literally going insane. And he's like, Nicole, it's not even a question in my mind if you're going to do that. Like, it's not a question. So during this time, I'm like, oh shit, I might want to like figure out if I can like actually get a job. That might be good. But I'm like, what type of law? Like, again, I don't know any lawyers. Like, so I remembered my boss and future partner, David Camille, from when Ramiro and I had bought and sold our houses in the past. So I reached out to him at some point in this just to network, and I went in there, and I remember like I went in, I was in a full suit, and like if you've ever met my boss, he's the coolest dude, but like jeans, sneakers, like he's like, you don't have to drive. I'm in like heels, like a full pantsuit, whatever. And I just went into network and shoot the shit and be like, I don't know if you remember me, whatever. And I walked out and I called Ramiro and I was like, I think I have a job. And he's like, what?
She
and I
didn't
was
even,
like,
she didn't even have her results of the bar exam.
I didn't have my
She
results
wasn't
of
even
the
a lawyer
bar.
yet.
So he was like, listen, I'm going to pay you shit money. You can act as a paralegal, essentially. If you fail the bar, you can stay with me and work as a paralegal while you study and retake. And if you pass, you can start doing attorney work. So I was like, okay, perfect. So I remember the bar exam was 2 days, and because it was COVID, it was remote. So I had to take it by myself. And they had this crazy software where the camera would pick up on your eye movement to catch cheating. So if there was a dog barking, if I moved my eyes, if it saw me looking, you could get flagged for cheating like instantly. It was terrifying. But it was 2 days long, and I remember after the second day, I took it, and Ramiro and he was like, do you want to go to dinner? I was like, no, I want to just die. Like, I don't know what just happened. He's like, do you think you passed? I was like, I either crushed it or I like got the worst score out of anyone who's ever taken it. And long story short, I mean,
Here we are.
I crushed it. I did well, but it could have gone either way. But yeah,
I never had a doubt.
But that's what I mean when I say like I've busted my ass to really prove like, you know, Ramiro would always say to me, just show him your work ethic and just continue to work hard. You'll do well. Like, you're a hard worker. And I had it in my head that everybody else was like that. Like,
Oh,
and it's scary that for me, that's like low hanging fruit. Like not trying. It's how could you like,
Yeah.
what? Like, it's like not putting gas in the car. Like not brushing my teeth. Like, how could you not
yeah.
try? Most people don't try. They
Yeah.
quit well before shit gets hard. And like looking back, I mean, there were so many chances where I could have been like, I'm not doing that. Like, screw it. I'm not doing this,
Yeah.
you know? And I just refused. And then like me, when I get into anything, I'm like, well, I need to like be the best and like be the hardest work because I'm so competitive. It's like kind of a sickness.
She used to come in.
Oh
Like
my
when
God.
she first started.
When my very first day, I'll never forget. I literally like
She
collapsed on the bed and I looked at Ramiro and I had like deer in headlights and I go, when are they going to realize I don't know what the fuck I'm doing? And he started laughing. He's like, Nicole, you're going to learn. You're going to figure it out. Because it's literally like you're being thrown into a different country and people are saying words you don't understand. They're giving you papers and asking you to do things you don't understand. And I was like the type of person that I was like, okay, yeah. He's like, oh, have you ever drafted a deed before? And I'm like, yeah, give it to me. And then I'd stare at the computer like, what the fuck, you know?
Yeah.
But
You're
I
like,
figured it
how
out.
to draft a deed.
100%. Dr. Google like came and hit me. But like, I took advice of those around me. When I tried to not make the same mistake twice, ever. I try to like every single thing that I learned
implant it in your brain, yeah.
to pull it back out to reference.
Yeah.
I don't want to just know, like if I said to you, Moose, like, did I draft this correctly? I don't want you to say yes or no.
Yeah.
If you say no and you just correct it for me, I'm not going to just take it. I'm going to be like, what did you correct? Why did you do
Yeah.
that? What's the reasoning?
Yeah.
You know, like there's an attorney at at our firm who's been such a mentor to me. And she's like, when you're reading, like, you have to look at what the words mean. Don't just like make the edit to the contract because you have to understand what it is that it's saying.
Yeah.
You know?
So I have a question. So you're in correct me if I'm wrong, it's real estate law?
Residential real estate primarily. Yep.
What does that mean?
So it's the legal term is conveyancing. So it's the transference of ownership from one party to another. So I work with buyers, sellers, and lenders.
So like if I wanted to sell property to him, I would call
real property. This is the difference.
What
So
do you
not
mean?
a car, but we call it real property, immovable property.
like a home.
Correct.
If I wanted to sell a home to him, I would call you just to make sure the transaction is done.
I would represent you throughout. So you put in an offer on a house, and your real estate agent would typically do that if you have an agent.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, once the offer gets accepted and signed, fully signed, meaning both parties sign it, I would get involved. I'd draft the purchase and sale agreement, edit it, negotiate it with the seller's or the buyer's attorney if I'm representing a seller, collect everything that you need for closing, walk you through everything, help you decide how to get your money. Yeah, it's not just like, yeah, looks good, send it out, fire it off. There's a lot that goes into it. And a lot of the times there's a lot of like, Ramiro hears me talk on the phone. He's like, I have no idea what you're talking about. Because I'm talking about title problems, meaning like the buyer's attorney does what's called a title exam on the property to make sure that essentially, like the layman's terms, if you buy it, you're going to be able to turn around and sell it and not run into a problem. Mm-hmm. Sometimes there are problems. So I have to help our sellers try to rectify those.
Yeah. What do you, from being in this now for about 5 years, being with this company for about 5 years, what's one thing that surprised you that maybe, you know, whether it was like a transaction or something you didn't think this job was going to give you?
The people side of things never ceases to amaze me. The people that are selling like a $250,000 condo in Brockton are some of the nicest. And this isn't everyone, so I don't want to overgeneralize, but like they're like, can I give you more money because you just did such a good job? Or like, hey, I want to make sure like I left a little plant on the table for the buyer. Like,
yeah.
And then you have people that are selling a multi-million-dollar property that are like, you know, I'm not paying a $25 fee for whatever. Like it.
Yeah.
Those are the types of things that the hills that people are willing to die on never cease to amaze me. And it's taken a lot of growth, like emotional growth on my end. You have to meet people where they are.
Yeah.
And Ramiro's helped me with this because I expected everyone to be how I was and to think how I thought and to act how I would act. Like that's not reasonable to me. Like I couldn't. Ramiro jokes, but like I didn't have many friends in college so I was a 3-year captain in college. There were a lot of upperclassmen that weren't captain. That didn't go over very well, right? I always held myself to a different standard. I'm not afraid to say that. They probably thought I was like an asshole, and they did not like me. They hated me.
Our first date was normally your first date with someone. You're like, let me toss out like my resume, like my highlights, my Instagram reel of life.
I was self-deprecating, and that's why you fell in love with
2 hours
me.
of her just going, no, you don't understand. They hated me.
Because
and I'm like,
I was like, you shouldn't get drunk the night before a game and then drop a fly ball. I'm sorry. I don't think that there's a problem
I know
with me
exactly.
saying that.
I'm like, I have a person in my mind now that you're talking.
Yeah. And I was like, they called me the fun killer, the fun sucker. But you know what's really funny? Almost every single one of those girls that treated me like that when we were in college, since graduating, has said to me like, hey, I get it.
Yeah.
Like you were trying to like hold us all to a higher standard. You were trying to. I wasn't into college to drink and have fun. I'm gonna just say it.
She was boring.
I was boring.
We've met. Like
He thought I was like being cheeky, and then he's met players, and they were like, dude, we hated her.
Yeah, because she was like, no, you don't understand. They hated me, and I'm like, really? She goes, they hated me.
No, like they had a sit down once to like talk about how much they hated me. I was there.
Picture
it was
them
like
having
a roast.
an intervention about their hatred of you.
Because they were like, you're being a dictator. And I was like, no, I think you should show up for practice on time. Like, I'm sorry. Like, that's just how. But that's, I've always carried myself. I've always set a higher expectation of myself. I'm super hard on myself. So a lot of the times I feel like I'm falling short of a insanely high, perfect, so to speak, expectation. Yeah. And in work, I've learned that I can't have the same
Yeah.
expectations of other people that I put on myself.
He actually taught me that too.
You can't because you will drive yourself
I was going
insane.
bananas.
Yeah.
People
But
are
you
people.
have to realize that the way that you are, whether it's now, 2 years from now, 5 years from now, it's going to set you apart in a good way.
Yeah.
Everything that I was and everything I've done has led me to where I am. And I'm
Yeah.
not done. I'm not even freaking
Excuse
close.
me, Mrs. Torres.
What?
Why don't you tell Moose what I would always say to you? Like when she first started, I'm like, just wait and
Give it time.
Yeah, I'm
Ramiro's like, right now, everyone's like this. He's like, you give it time. Because what happens with most people, which is so true, they have like, they start a new job, 6 months, they're fucking killing it, right? They're crushing it. And then they get lazy and then they fall off and then they get demotivated. That's not me. Like, I fall in love with the grind. Like marathon training, the marathon, like I think I've done 3 or 4. I haven't run in quite some time, but my favorite part about running a marathon was not the marathon. It was not the medal. It was not the day of the race. I actually hated the day of the race because I hated running around other people. It was the grind. It was like the monotonous, this is a 16-week program. Like I would actually get sad when I would get to the end because I was like, shit, like I want to have, something hard. Like I love stuff that is hard and difficult. That's why I married him. But like stuff that's hard and difficult and challenging, I hate complacency. Absolutely terrifies the shit out of me. So Ramiro would say, like, just keep being who you are, doing what you're doing, like over time, right? It's like the tortoise and the hare. Like over time, it's all about what you can do for the long term. It's not about what you do in the short term.
Yeah. Can we backpedal a little bit and kind of talk about around the time you guys met? So you were in undergrad, or you were?
I was in a second year law student. No, second year. Second year law student. I had just turned 23.
We met 2013.
Yeah, I had just turned 23.
That's so funny because we have like 3 generations of
How old are you?
24.
Yeah. And now I meet people that are 23 and I'm like, okay, I was 23 and I met Ramiro. I walked into the gym. I'll never forget this. And I was like in between. No, it was the summertime. So I was just working. I wasn't in school. And my boss at the time was like, do you know who that guy is over there? And I'm like, I see like a guy who looks like a drug dealer. He's like covered in tattoos, like whatever. I'm like, I don't know. Who is he? And she goes, oh, that's Ramiro, from the radio. And I'm like, that guy sounds like an asshole on the radio. Like I just assumed he was a jerk. And also coming from a setting where, again, nobody liked me because I was zero fun. I'm like, we're not going to have anything in common. He probably likes to party, whatever. But he was also 37.
So you
36.
were 23. No.
It was 37. And I remember that age, I was like, he's so old. And now I'm 34 and I'm almost 37. And I'm like, that's not old at all. Oh
like,
my
I'm
God.
still young.
Yeah, like I'm a baby. But Ramiro and I became friends and like I realized he's just as boring as me, which it worked out all well. But yeah, I was the second year law. I was about to enter my second year of law school.
So that's an interesting time, I would say. Well, because I feel like I'm in that now, where you're kind of not in the lull, but you're in the space of like
adulthood.
Yeah, you're like.
It's not cute to party anymore.
It's not.
It's not cute. It's not a good look. People look at you like. Like you're right on the edge of people being like,
you shouldn't be out at this bar anymore. It's Thanksgiving
bedtime.
Eve is like not in your thing anymore.
Correct.
But
you're not in high school. Like
you're in that lull period, and you're kind of like right before, you're done with law school, and you're about to take the first steps, and you meet the person you're gonna eventually marry and have kids with. What's going through your mind at the time? Because I think, personally, one of my favorite topics to kind of like psychoanalyze is this generation's love life weirdness. For example, like you, like him and I have talked about this. I think you and I are similar.
Yeah.
Because I feel like we're old souls.
Yeah.
But
100%.
I think we also exude this like
youth.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, like I think we are. I mean, I wasn't like that in college. Like I was.
Wow.
Also,
Thanks. Just talk about a roast.
I was trying to think of how to word it. No,
Moose had friends.
You're just very like.
Fuck you. I had one. I had one. I had 2 really good friends.
We were just about our business, but we're also fun. What was that like in your mind? Maybe when you first met him, when you guys first started dating, what was that like for you? Did you know instantly, or was that something it took you a minute to settle in? And be
That
like,
we were gonna like get married.
Yeah,
and
like
stuff?
this is the guy.
So when we met in like August. August?
July
of
2013.
2013. We, like, again, I really didn't give him the time of day. I was actually kind of like an asshole to him because
For the record, I didn't even notice.
he didn't really notice. He also had a
She went
crush.
2
He had
months-
also had a crush on another girl at the gym.
I did not have a crush.
Yeah. Do you want me to
Okay.
name her? I'll do it.
Hold
I
on.
don't give
But
a
okay,
shit.
so 2 months, she was like, you know that I didn't talk to you for 2 months? I said, no.
He didn't really care. He was like delirious. But little did I know, like he was going through, his ex-wife had just gotten diagnosed with cancer. He was going through, figuring out his divorce. Like, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So he was in his own world. I was in my own world. So there was a CrossFit competition that was going to happen in January.
Yeah, it was at the end. Yeah.
And Ramiro was like decent at CrossFit, but like not the greatest. So he was like, oh, I want to partner with like a stronger female. I was never the best at gymnastics.
I just did stuff to have fun.
So he asked me to do this partnership competition with him, which meant that we had to like train leading up to it. So we would meet at the gyms at like
she
Sunday
she was training
morning.
like she was like, we're gonna win this shit, and I'm just like, I just want to go have fun.
He didn't care. He's like, oh, grab my water. I'm like, put the water down. Like, let's go.
See, but you probably just wanted to spend time with her.
Not at the beginning.
No, he's like, no, actually,
In the beginning, no, she was cool. She was fun. She was fun. We got along well.
We got along well as friends, and like
Yes.
we started training together on Sundays, and like first it was just like when I'm used to being around dudes in the gym. It's
Yeah.
just mostly all guys. So training with guys, I was just like, here's another dude. And then I found myself like looking forward to like seeing him. And then I remember I changed like my outfit like 3 or 4 times before one of our training sessions, and then I'm like, oh shit, I like him. Like, oh, this is bad. And I started to like kind of have a crush on him. But again, like I was like, I'm a law student. Like I was supporting myself to go to school. I had like 2 or 3 jobs. I'm like, I'm not gonna go out. I still to this day, I've never been to a club, but that's for another day. I don't like to, like, I don't drink. Like I'm what I thought was boring. Apparently he's into it, but we did the competition, and that day he's like, do you want to go out to dinner with me tonight, like to celebrate? And I was like, no, I'm tired and I smell, which was true. So this is like a Saturday. So I was like, what about Monday? And he's like, okay, yeah, Monday works, whatever. So meanwhile, we had been texting each other like cute little flirty, like every day. Sunday comes, we're still like kind of texting. Monday comes, and I have class, because this was like January, February at this point. I was in class, and like I didn't hear from him all day. I'm like, that's kind of weird. I got home from class, I like take a shower, I get ready, I change my outfit, and it's like 4, 5, 5:30, 6 o'clock. Yeah, never heard from him. So me being who I am, I texted him. I'm like, hey, you fucking asshole. You stood me up on our date? Like, what the hell? Like, screw you, whatever. And he's like, I thought you were standing me up.
So I was waiting for her to text me that day.
Sure.
And no, seriously. So I'm like waiting for her to text me. She never texted me, and I was like, oh, I guess she doesn't want to do this. So he's
like, Sunday. I'll take you out Sunday.
Yeah.
Like, we'll go. Little did I know, he was taking me out to his quintessential first date spot, Samba West, which I don't even think is there anymore. Samba
It was
East
a sushi restaurant
in
very
Framingham.
conveniently close
home.
to my house.
So he's like, I'm going to take you out, whatever. So I used to coach what's called open gym on Sunday mornings. It's just you go and make sure no one hurts themselves. So I show up in like sweatpants, and I'm like, just so you know, if you show up later to dinner, which you probably won't given your track record, like this is what I'm wearing. And he's like, well, I'm going home to get sexy, so you're going to look like an idiot, whatever. And I was like, we'll see. I show up in sweatpants, in a sweatshirt, in a top knot, no makeup on. I look disgusting, and he's got a button-up jean, and I literally was like, oh my God, this is so embarrassing. But we had an awesome time. We got there probably like 5. We're talking for like 2 hours. Everything's amazing. All of a sudden, he's like, I need the bill. Like, we got to go, whatever. So I'm like, okay. It must be going wrong. Like, I haven't done this in a while, whatever. So he like pieces out so fast. So I'm like, okay. So
I gotta go to bed. I had a
like a half
job.
hour later, he texts me. He's like, I had such a great time. Do you want to do this next weekend? And I'm like, maybe he's just like gay and looking for a friend. Like, I don't know. It was just weird. So
Did you not know like he had to wake up so early?
I like you. It's one thing when people are like, oh, what time do you wake up? And he's like 2 a.m. Like you almost think it's like in jest, but it's another when you live it.
Yeah.
Which, yeah. So I knew he woke up early, but like I didn't think he also is very good. Like for how he can pretend to be, he's actually very humble and doesn't tell people that he wakes up early to work out and meditate and set himself up for like a good day.
Yeah.
So I just was like, maybe he wakes up at 5. It just didn't occur to me. It wasn't
Yeah.
on my list of things. So the following weekend, I get all dressed up. We go to the Capitol Grill in Chestnut Hill, which ironically is walking distance to my Chestnut Hill office now. We show up at like 6 o'clock and like we had the best date. That was the date that I was like, this is the guy I'm going to marry. Like hands down.
Can I ask, like, what was it? Is it something specific or is it just a feeling?
It was just a feeling. It was, I felt like, honestly, like I felt like I would never run out of things for us to talk about. And I feel like he could talk to me every day for the rest of my life and I would want to hear more.
I've never seen this happen. We were sitting there talking, right? In the restaurant.
We got there like 6.
Yeah. And like, I don't know what time they closed, but they closed. We were still sitting there talking. All of a sudden we look and one of the staff
He's
members
like, I
is
think we need to
sitting-
leave.
Yeah, that was sitting at like probably
Like,
the distance
literally
from
like
me to
this,
you.
just staring at us.
Staring at
Staring.
us, mean mugging us
Yeah.
because they weren't allowed to say, get the fuck out. So he just sat there just looking at us very angrily, like so we would get the message that we needed to get the fuck out because there was we didn't really like it was almost like a movie where you look up and you're like, oh geez, the place is empty.
And that's still like going back to like why I knew when him and I are like in a zone of him and I, we could be in New York City and I only see him and I, like we are in our own not bubble in the sense of like it's almost like nothing else really matters.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And that's the vibe that I got. So I had the best date of my life. So Ramiro's like, we got to leave. Like these people are like staring at us. So we're walking out to the cars. And like, I don't know if you've ever been to that restaurant, but it's like a pretty good walk to like the parking. And as a female, I'm like, we're walking. And I'm like, oh, he's walking to me to my car. Is he going to hug me? Is he going to kiss me? Like, what's he going to do? Whatever. And I'm thinking this Hispanic dude, he's got game. Like, I'm like, what?
I'm a gentleman.
So we get to my car. And he's like, oh, this is great, whatever. And I'm like, yeah, it was great. And I'm like, my heart's like pounding. And he puts his hand up over his head and he's like, all right, awesome date. Have a safe drive home. And literally as he high fives me, I'm like, he's not into me. Like, oh my God.
It was more of a handshake.
No, it was a high five over the forehead. I distinctively remember it because I remember my hand went down and I could tell the second you did it, you were like, I'm a fucking moron. So I get into my car.
I hadn't done that in a while.
It's like 12:30 at this point, okay? We had like a 6-hour date. I shit you not. I get into my car and my girlfriend at the time was like, how did it go? Whatever. So I remember I called her and I was like, he high-fived me. And she goes, ooh, he's not into you. Like a half hour later, this fucking asshole texts me. I had a great time. Do you want to do it again? I'm like, what kind of games is this dude playing? Like, this is crazy.
I'm a gentleman, Moose. I don't know what to tell you.
So the next time we went out, I had him at my place, my little tiny apartment in Alston, my little shithole apartment, and I cook for him. And before he went to leave, I was like, you going to high five me again? Or do I get like a hug this time? And then I think we made out and it was fine. It was all good after that.
Then it was game on.
And here we are.
Dude, he had no game. And even to this day, you're like, Ramiro's not romantic at all.
I've definitely
tried.
No.
You've stepped it up.
I'm way better than I used to be.
He'd be like, I bought tissues.
Yeah.
For the
but
house.
I'm very
There's your romance.
my love language is
Utilitarian.
very utilitarian.
Yeah, no, for real. He's like, I paid the mortgage.
No,
Like, I
like I'm
took
very
care of-
like I'll be like no, I'm very
Like, we have a house.
I'll be like, hey, I
Groceries,
got
do
you
you
like
to eat?
like I'll be like, hey, I got you
It's like, I noticed
like,
that your
I-
phone charger cord was a little
Yeah.
bent.
I'll be
Happy
like,
Valentine's Day. I'm
I
like,
got
what
I got you a pump to fill out the tires in your car in case they go out of air.
He's thoughtful in a utilitarian way.
Which is not bad.
It's not bad, but that's not my love
No,
language.
you want to laugh? You want to laugh? I told him about something I did for a girl once, and I don't know who we were. It was me, you, and someone else. We're talking about something because he likes to roast me and my relationship stuff.
Shocking.
I don't know what he's telling. I'm pretty sure it's someone I'm not even that tight with. He goes, yeah, this kid over here is buying girls music boxes and stuff, and like, I'm like putting my stuff out. And I'm sitting here like.
Ramiro, what did I tell you the
frozen.
first time, our first date, like that first date?
When you said I'm just gonna do nice things for
I
you
said
randomly.
that's just who I am. Like I will just do like stopping on the way here. I was like, does Moose want a coffee? And he's like, I don't know, text it. Like I just
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
not like that.
No, I'm
He
yeah.
is a lone wolf.
You know what's so funny too is to like validate everything you're saying right now too is also during COVID, ironically too, I bombarded him. Bombarded with emails.
You slid into his DMs?
I slid into his DMs a couple times.
That's a little creepy.
I was like, hey.
You're like, hey, I love you.
I love you. Do you want to talk? And he answered. He went, sure. What about this day?
Yeah, that's him.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, great. Like,
Yeah. Dude,
Nicole,
he's king of the K period.
I took the ring light out, the laptop, like this.
Did he not
ready.
show up?
No, he did. He's in like, I think he just finished like working out or something. He's like,
yeah, he's chill. He doesn't.
what's up?
Yeah.
He's like this, and I was like, hi, Mr. Torres, like, and whatever. But we didn't talk for a year once I was here. I didn't see him. I think we saw each other once, and you were all like running out. You're like, hey, what's up? Nothing. Out of nowhere, I got a text message from him. He's like, hey, do you still work here? And I was like, yeah.
Yeah, that sounds pretty.
He's like, oh, I'm thinking about starting a podcast. You want to talk? And then so it's like, you're right.
Thank you. I didn't need the validation,
I know you didn't need it,
but I appreciate it nonetheless.
Just so everyone knows that she's not making any of this
I'm not.
up. He does it with his wife, his friends.
Yeah.
I'm sure if we met one of your cousins you've known your whole life, they're going to tell the same thing.
People have very busy lives. I like to get to the point.
Yeah, he doesn't beat around the bush. Like Christmas, my birthday, like I've had to like put a note section, a shared note in our phones of like ideas of what to get me.
Christmas list, yeah.
Because he doesn't pay attention.
Yeah. He said to me too, he said
he doesn't pay attention. I could be like on a website of something that I want and be like, what color do you like? And he'd be like, I don't know, red. And I'd be like, I really like the brown one. Don't you think the brown one's great? And he's like, whatever. He couldn't tell you what website I was on.
Yeah.
He doesn't pay. There's no subtle hints with him.
I believe it. He's told me because we've talked. Well, I don't know how we keep talking about girls, but like we've talked a lot. He's like trying to like, he's like, just do your thing, Moose. But like we'll talk about chicks, and he's told me this. I'm sure you've heard this. He said, I'm either gonna marry someone like you, or he said, I'm going to be you.
Yeah.
And marry
100%.
someone who's a little bit more.
Yep.
He was like, you and Nicole are very similar in how you guys view that stuff.
I wouldn't be surprised if you got with someone that was much older than you.
What do you mean much? Like.
If someone had told me, so my dad's always said to me, like, you're going to end up with someone that's older than you. People my own age, I never got along with, even before everyone hated me in college. Like, I would go to my friends' houses as a kid and shoot the shit with their parents, with their grandparents. Like, that's
low-key me,
I know. I've always gotten along with people that are older than me. So when I told my family that I was with Ramiro and he's 14 years older than me, granted, he's very immature, so it works out well, but, I'm an old soul. We're kind of the same age, 35.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
he also looks like he's 14, which helps. But I don't think anyone was surprised.
Yeah.
And I don't think anyone would be surprised for you. There are definitely like, if someone had told me when I was younger, you're going to end up with someone who's 14 years older than you and has kids. Ramiro has had me do a lot of forced growing up. Like the amount of maturity, emotional maturity I have been forced to do since being with this man. Like, and he's literally like, this is the situation. Fucking grow up. Like, get over it.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, like walking into a relationship with a person was divorced. I didn't grow up around anyone divorced. I thought divorced people hated each other.
Yeah.
Like, I found out as an adult, one of my uncles was divorced, like, before I was born. And I was like, oh my God, scandal.
Yeah.
Like, it's not something that I was familiar with. I thought divorced parents hated each other.
Yeah.
So when him and I first got together and he had such a healthy, good relationship with his ex-wife, I was like, are you two like in love with each other? Like, I couldn't. Yeah. I just couldn't. And he was like, grow up.
Because the social like perception we put on divorce is bad.
Correct. Especially where I grew up.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't know a Hispanic person growing up.
Yeah,
like
true,
I was in a very, very sheltered it was, again, I had a great childhood. It was a great town to grow up in. I just wasn't exposed to a whole heck of a lot.
But it speaks also on his character, how that happened with him and his ex-wife, is they were both able to amicably be like, you know what, I think we need to make this decision.
They put their kids first. Yeah. And like I've found, I work with, in my career, a lot of people that are selling their house because they're getting a divorce and they hate each other and they have kids.
Sometimes they can't even be in the same room.
The kids are being dragged through it.
Yeah.
And kids are smart.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they know.
Kids know. Kids are smart. And like to see that, it like forced me, like I couldn't, he's like, there's nothing for you to be jealous over. Like grow up.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I'm
And
24. I don't want to.
What's so amazing too is from everything you're talking about now and everything he's told me too, how I think it bleeds into your work so well is you thankfully were in a position to say, I'm gonna buckle down, balls to the wall, and focus. You were able. Most girls, Nicole, wouldn't. Like in your position, you put your own, not your own personal goals, because I like the way you worded that, because I don't want to say like you put your dreams to the side. That's not what you did. You kind of just like switched the barrier of things you wanted. You I feel like for a while, and correct me if I'm wrong, you were like, okay, lawyer, all this stuff, kids and family later. Then you were like, actually, wait, no. I'm in my youth. I just met this amazing guy. I think I want to start having kids and building my family now.
Yeah.
And then later on, you went and you finished what you wanted to do. And you were lucky enough to recognize that. And then when it was time to go into full gear, you moved in with your in-law. Like most girls are like, you know what, that's it. I had the kids.
Yeah.
Whatever.
A lot of females, and it's no fault of their own. Being a woman is hard.
Yeah.
It's hard because there's no winning.
Yeah.
When I'm at work, I think about my kids. And when I'm with my kids, I think about work. And you can't fully be present with either. And you're never going to be enough for either. I just know myself. And I tried staying home when we had our daughter, when we had Lucy. And I literally said to him after about 6 months, like, one of us is not going to make it out of this if I stay home. I can't. I grew up with my mom staying home. And I watched her. I remember thinking like, wow, mom really needs like a hobby.
Yeah.
You know, which sounds sad to say, but we became her entire life. Mm-hmm. Her life revolved around us. And it was very important for me. I want to feel fulfilled in my own life. I used to think, it's a selfish thing if women put their career. No, because if I'm happy in what I'm doing, I'm going to bring that home.
Your kids are going to see it.
My kids are going to see it. I'm going to bring that home with me, that level of contentment and happiness and fulfillment. If I feel like I'm not being fulfilled, I'm going to take that out on everyone around me.
And a lot of people don't realize how much they do that. They don't realize how unhappy they are in their lives and how it bleeds. And then they wonder why they're miserable.
And I think, too, like, especially as a woman, recognizing that it's impossible. We try to be all things for all people at the same time.
You can.
Like this morning, I woke up, I worked out, made breakfast for myself, made breakfast for my kids, made sure they had their snacks, fed the dogs, fed the cat, did the dishes, dropped them off at school, have been at work all day. Like, it's not... You're literally like, you know, the Cat in the Hat when he's got like the dishes and they're spinning and he's like bouncing a ball. Like, that's how I feel most of the time. Admitting that is really hard as a female because you never want to admit like I'm struggling or this is hard or whatever, and asking for help.
Yeah.
I have learned that I need to do those two things. Like when I was an associate and then I got promoted to a managing attorney of one of our offices. And when I decided to take on that position, before agreeing to it, I sat down with Ramiro and I said, listen, if I'm going to agree to this, you and I are both agreeing to this. It's going to be longer hours. It's going to be more on you. Like, we're going to do this together.
Was this a couple months ago?
No, this is a couple of years ago.
A
couple of years ago. It's not like, and I feel like a lot of women struggle because we feel like we can't ask for help. We can't put the onus onto other people. When Ramiro's with the kids, he's not babysitting. They are his kids.
Yeah.
Right? When I'm with them, I'm not babysitting. They're my kids. And when we're together, like, I don't say to Ramiro, you know, Jax likes toast and Lucy likes bagels. Like, he knows our kids just as much as I do.
That's where being the utilitarian works. It's just like, what needs to be done? Doing it.
Right. But it's not, you got to give yourself more credit than that because like you're not, there's a difference between being their father and being their dad, I think. And there's a difference between being someone's mother and being mom or mommy. There's a huge difference, I think.
What's the difference?
I think if you are father or mother, in my mind, you're kind of like checking a box. Did I feed them? Did I shower them? Did I do the things in my role as mother or as father? If you're mom, dad, they're coming to you when they fall. And you're comforting them. You're explaining to them like why they're doing something wrong. You're teaching them manners. You're teaching them grace. You're teaching them to share. Like, you're teaching them how to be people, how to be adults, right? My dad always said, I keep going back to my dad. He's a little influential in my life. I don't know if you know this, but there's a select and short period of time with the kids from the time, that they're probably like 2 to when they're maybe 12, where you really have so much influence on them. Like my daughter will say to me, there was a guy that tried to pull a girl into the woods in Shrewsbury the other day, a 16-year-old girl. He tried to, she got off the bus, she was walking home, he tried to pull her into the woods. I said to Ramiro, I'm going to have this conversation with the kids. So I took them out to breakfast and I said, hey, what? I didn't go into the details, but I said, what would you do if someone ever tried to get you to go with them? What would you do? And Jax is like, I'd punch them in the face. And I'm like, okay. And Lucy's like, well, I would scream and I would run away. And I'm like, perfect. And her daughter, she's 7. And she goes, I have a question. Why are you asking us this? Did something happen? And I said, yeah, in Shrewsbury, a guy tried to get a girl to go with him somewhere and she didn't know him. And she goes, well, I have another question. What if it's one of our friends' parents, but we haven't met the parent yet? So
How old is she?
She's 7.
Wow.
7.5. Yeah. So she said, well, like my little friend, this isn't a friend's name, but my little friend Samantha, what if she's like, oh, I'm Samantha's mom. Your mom asked me to go with you, to take you somewhere. I said, you say no.
Good.
She goes, well, what if I see her the next day and you see her and she says, Lucy didn't listen to me? I said, and I'll applaud you for that.
Yeah.
You don't, but that to me, having those, that's not just checking a box as a parent. That's taking the time to teach your kids a tangible lesson for the future. So going back to you, I think you need to give yourself more credit because I hear you have those types of conversations with them. And I always say this to you, sometimes Ramiro loses his patience and the Puerto Rican dad comes out in you. He can be very hard on the little kids. You can be very, very hard on them, which is fine. But I always say to him, I'll look at him and be like, take it down, take the temperature down a little, explain to them why. I never want to say to my kids, because I said so. It drives me insane. I want to know the why, and I want our kids to know the why, and you're very good about explaining the why.
But it speaks volumes already on your own parenting, because the fact that Lucy was able to ask you...
Yeah, she thought about that.
That's a very valid thing to ask, because it's what if it's her friend's mom or someone, and she's already knows, my mom hasn't met them, my mom doesn't know.
Correct.
What do I do? So... Yeah. For her to even put 2 and 2 together like that, kudos to you guys, because that's amazing.
Bro,
you know what I mean?
Bringing that little girl is such a challenge because
she's like an adult.
She does that, right? And then when she acts like a 7-year-old,
I lose my shit. I'm
it's
like, you're an adult. Why are you talking
we're almost
like that?
What are you doing acting like a 7-year-old when 5 minutes ago you were 15 years more mature than you are now?
My parents laugh because she's me with a shrink ray.
Oh my God.
And Jax is Ramiro. He's such an instigator.
He looks like you with ash blonde hair.
The other day,
he can be. I'll call Ramiro after I drop them off at school sometimes, and I'm like, Jax was an asshole this morning. He can be me. He'll roast me. He's like, Mommy, you're why I'm in a bad mood. Yeah. Well, because I'm like, why? He's like, I asked for a bagel with butter, and you gave me a butter with a bagel. The stupidest shit.
The other day he said the most 5-year-old boy thing ever. He goes, do you want to see how I fight in slow motion? And he jumps off the chair and starts throwing slow punches and kicks. Remember that?
Yes, I do. Yeah, it's funny.
All you can do is laugh at that point. What are you going to do?
You have to.
So tell me, as you're stepping into this new position, literally as of last night, ironic too, because we're literally stepping into the new year in a couple of weeks. Is there something? How do I want to word this? Is there something you're kind of looking forward to tackling that you haven't done yet? Is your name going to be?
Not in the near future. We're not going to make immediate not harsh, but my boss, future partner, has done such a great job of name recognition, and he has a really, really good reputation in the industry. Yeah, and why?
Why? There's that. Yeah, it's more of an ego thing. You know what I mean?
It's just his name is a brand, and it's attached. It's a very, very good brand, and it's a very healthy brand. I don't want to come in and you know.
2 weeks in, you're like, boom.
Yeah,
no, there's no need for that.
Correct, and over time, sure, but.
Is there something that you're looking forward to that you haven't done yet? You're like, as I'm stepping into this new title, because it's a new challenge. It's you were just talking about how much you love the journey, not the destination, and it's like you've kind of reached a destination, but you're starting a new journey.
It's, you know what it's like? It's like if you're looking at like a mountain range. And I almost feel like I got to the top of one mountain, and now I'm looking up at like,
Everest.
Holy shit, you know? Yeah, exactly. But at the same time, there's no peak. So for me, it's just growing in my career as a business owner and as a partner in a firm, and you know, being a part of that higher level decision making and the management piece of things. Like, people management is hard. People management is hard. Honestly, managing people is one of my favorite parts of my job and what I do now as a managing attorney, but it's one of the toughest. And now it goes from like my Southborough staff to helping manage the firm, which is like double the amount of people. But honestly, it's continuing to just grow and hustle, and how am I going to be able to build my own business and my own relationships and networking with the clients that I have, and also build my, continue to grow in my boss's or my partner's business and what he's been able to do, and to see the numbers that, where the firm has been and project to where we can go. Like, I set goals for myself where we set firm goals every single year, every single month, every quarter. And like, I want to just blow them out of the water. How
rewarding is it for you to show your daughter all these kind of, do you look at yourself and look at her and you're just like,
it's funny. Because this is like, we started having the conversation about this, David and I, months ago. It's been such a long thing that even like the announcement last night, I was like, oh, it's like off my chest, It's almost surreal still. But this morning, like, my parents were at our house, and you have to go?
No.
It's your alarm. You're going to turn into a pumpkin. My parents were at the house, and my dad's like, Lucy and Jax, do you know, like, mommy is going to be a partner at her firm? And Jax is like, I don't know what that means. Like, and Lucy's like, well, what does that mean? And my dad's like, oh, she's going to be one of the bosses. And she's like, I thought she already was. Like, she does, 'cause she knows I manage one of our offices. So what's really cool is I feel like she's not going to know any different. Like, she already sees me. Like, they'll come into the office and they know that I'm in charge of that office. And for me, that's really, really cool, because she's going to see that that's possible. Like, I didn't have a female around me who had kids and worked, never mind like a partner at a law firm. Like, again, I didn't know any lawyers. I just want whatever the kids do. And I like, by no means do I want her to be a lawyer. She says she wants to be a vet. That's great. Like, if she wants to like own a 7-Eleven, I don't give a shit. If she is happy every single day and she tries as hard as she can and I know that sounds generic or basic.
No.
But if she's happy and they try as hard as they possibly can, like, I really don't. That's what I personally want to instill in them, because if there's one thing that no one can ever say about me, it's that I didn't try.
Yeah.
Like, I will never half-ass something as long as I live.
Yeah.
It's just like the wasted potential.
Yeah.
Like, what is that sign that you got me for Christmas a couple of years ago?
Which one?
It's like the biggest.
The biggest thing in life is wasted talent.
Yeah, like it's. I forget where you would put my running medals. To sacrifice, like something like to sacrifice your effort is to sacrifice the gift.
Yeah.
Something
like
along
that,
those lines. Like, my biggest fear is mediocrity.
Yeah.
Truly. Like, mediocrity terrifies me. Ask Ramiro how many times he's seen me sitting on the couch watching like Bravo. Not even like, I just can't.
Yeah.
And he'll be like, Nicole, calm down. Like, sit down. I cannot sit still because I am terrified of being mediocre. Like, if I die and I'm just like the average person, it scares the shit out of me.
No, I like your analogy. She says she pictures like a Chipotle burrito and how they stuff it, and then you look at it and you're like, how the hell are
I
you
want
gonna,
a
like,
full
fold
life.
that?
Yeah.
She's like, that's what I want to do with life. I
Yeah.
want to stuff it like a Chipotle
You get
burrito.
one.
You get it once.
Yeah.
You don't get a repeat.
No.
You don't get a redo. You get to the end,
That's
and
it.
you either reflect back and you go, shit, I coulda, shoulda, woulda, or you're like, holy shit.
Like, I lived a
Look
good
at
life.
what the hell I was
Yeah.
able to do. Like, Ramiro jokes. He's like, Nicole, you try to do too much. I pack too much into one day. We have 3 cats and 2 dogs and da-da-da-da. I'm like, honey, we're living our life. Like, I'm gonna like grab life by the horns and own that shit.
Yeah.
And that's what I want to instill in my kids.
Yeah.
That's what I'm most proud of.
Yeah.
Is that they're gonna see, like they're not for years gonna look back, but they will someday and be like, Mom, like during COVID you sat for the bar? Like why?
Yeah.
You know?
Why? Literally, yeah.
Like why? Why would you do that? Like when
Yeah.
you didn't have to.
Yeah.
You know, like we're fortunate enough. If I wanted to stay home with them, I probably could have. Yeah, we would make sacrifices. But I probably could have stayed home, been a stay-at-home mom, and that's fine, and that's great.
Yeah, exactly.
But I didn't want that.
And that's why I wanted to end this. I wanted to save this piece until the end. I wanted to give you a genuine compliment here because it's very, especially nowadays, it's very few and far between that you meet people like yourself who genuinely you have this clear vision and you have zero excuses and you just go for it. And you also have the emotional intelligence to say to yourself at a certain time in your life, this is my goal, this is what I want to do, but I also have this beating in my heart. It's time to start my family, but this, I'm coming back to you. I'm just going to put you right here for a minute, but you're not going anywhere. A lot of people, like I said to you earlier, they would have... too busy with the kids. I'm tired. I'm exhausted. You said, no, we're going to put you on the back burner, but the heat's still on. It's just on low.
It's simmering.
So the compliment I wanted to give you is you remind me a lot of like my sisters where I'm going to sound extremely like liberal right now, but like women nowadays, I just think women like you and like my sisters don't come often.
No, you're right.
You are going to be such a good example to your daughter, even to your son, to your husband. You've inspired me. I think you are just seriously a one-of-a-kind chick. I think you're a badass. I think you wear a lot of hats, and that does not come often. And if you don't hear it enough, I at least wanted to say it to you. I've met you. We've hung out, 3 times? And every single time I leave that instance, I'm like, wow, Nicole's such a cool person. So I just wanted to give you that compliment.
I appreciate that. And again, like through hard work and perseverance, you tell kids when they're little, like, you work hard and you can be anything. And it feels like a fantasy. It feels like a fairy tale. It's the truest words that have ever been spoken. Like, there's sacrifices. Like, some nights I'm out at networking stuff till 9, 10 o'clock at night, and I wake up at 3:30 a.m. the next day, and I'm like, what the fuck? It's sacrifices, but, like, man, is it feel good when you've accomplished stuff like that. But thank you. It means a lot. Write that down, Ramiro, so you know what to say to me when you run out of words.
Please.
Just play this back.
She's joking because she knows I hit her with that stuff all the time.
Truly, without the support of Ramiro, like, I wouldn't have had the confidence. I always had it inside of me. I knew that. I have like a tick. I have like maybe it's a screw loose, maybe it's a screw too tight. There's something inside of me that I knew I could always do this. But the spark that ignited it was him. Yeah. It really was. And like that, you talk about again, like, how did I know that he was the one? Like, he's my spark. He's my match. Yeah. You know, like I always had the dynamite. I was always ready, but it's like you need someone to light it. You will find that person. You will. And it might not be now. It might not be in a year from now. But if you just stay true to who you are, you will find that person. And you will be like, holy shit, I'm the best version. Like, I will say, right hand to God, Ramiro and I are each the best version of who we could be at where we are in our life. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong.
No, I 100% agree with that, yeah.
And when I find that girl, we'll go to that sushi place.
The 4 of us will go to Samba East if it's still there.
East.
Yes,
Ramiro, I don't even think it exists anymore.
Probably doesn't.
Well, is there anything coming up that you want to shout out or anything in general before we end off?
So yeah, starting January 1st, I'll be partner at the law offices of David Camille. If anyone's purchasing or selling a property, or refinancing if the rates ever go down. But yeah, I'm just looking forward to like an amazing year. We came off of a tough year personally, you know, with the loss of Ramiro's ex-wife and just some tough stuff that we've gone through. And I think 2025 is going to be amazing. I really do.
Me too, man.
Yeah.
Me too.
You're going to find someone. Just.
I know, genuinely, we joke about it. I promise you right now, it's really not in my mind.
Don't force it.
Like, genuinely, like, it's not in my head.
Before I met him, I was like, I'm done dating, whatever. And he came like a bat out of hell when I didn't expect it. We were friends first, so just be yourself. 2025. It's going to be
myself. Let me be.
Yourself. And no matter how much shit he talks,
Be your
you be
angry,
yourself.
stressed,
I get those quotes every
pent up
morning.
self.
Maybe don't wear the Ugg slippers, but no, I'm just
There we
kidding.
go. Beautiful. Would you want to?
Me? Thanks for having me.
You did great.
I'm glad I was
show
here to
everybody your
witness this.
sweatshirt.
Oh
DC
yeah,
Law, baby.
Law office, DC law, baby.
Yes.
Beautiful.
Look at that, representing the wife.
Nicole
you.
Torres, it was amazing having you.
Thank
You got to
you.
come back.
Yes.
And we'll chit chat more.
Yes.
All right. Peace out, everybody.